또 흥미는 어제 뉴욕타임즈에 나온 또 흥미있는 기사인데 The history that New York City takes for granted. The history that New York City takes for granted. New York City has an image problem. The nightly news typically has a big apple spot about the unprovoked street violence, subway attacks, drive-by shooting, shoplifting gangs, and the homeless encampment. But all of this give a false impression. Gotham is, per capita, almost the safest of American cities. But most citizens of the United States do not know it. The upcoming 400th anniversary of New York City in 2025 offers a great opportunity to change the prevailing narrative. A world-class party could attract more tourists to the world's greatest city, and there are dozens of ways to do this. My favorite would be a giant 400-themed balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. 400th birthdays are no ordinary occasions, and this is not an ordinary time. Hundreds of museums, historical societies, businesses, churches, and the professional association are eager to do their part, and Gotham has thousands of citizens who care deeply about the past and who would eagerly embrace the opportunity to show their love for the city. But instead of planning for a greater commemoration, we may be confronting a lost opportunity. In his State of the City speech in January, Mayor Eric said his administration would start planning for what he called this major milestone in history. But we've heard almost nothing publicly since then, and 2025 is only 8 months away. This should be a major priority. A city official involved in the process said committees had been formed to coordinate planning among all city agencies and outside groups, including civic and historical organizations, and to invest money in events. When I co-chaired Columbia University's 250th anniversary 20 years ago, committees had been meeting for 10 years before the event. Other major cities, from Venice to Moscow to Sydney, have regarded the anniversaries as an occasion to party on an internal scale. Does anyone really think that Boston will allow its founding in 1630 to pass unobserved in 2030, or that Philadelphia will take a pass on its establishment by William Penn 1682? New York has never sufficiently communicated its historical record over its many centuries, while the city is regarded as an extraordinary place to view tall buildings. experience crowded street, and the thrill to world-class at the museum and performing arts at the venues. American history as an experience has been better captured by Boston, Philadelphia, Charleston as the Sea, Savannah, GA, New Orleans, Newport RI, and half a hundred other places. In fact, no other city in the United States is as old or as historic. The second Mesa in Arizona has had a few hundred residents on its exposed site for more than 800 years, but it has never been a promising place to put a larger settlement. St. Augustine dates from 1565, but it was insignificant even in Florida until the 20th century. Jamestown, founded in 1607 in Virginia, and Plymouth Plantation, begun in 1620 in Massachusetts, may be places we learned in school, but both disappeared and survived simply as a small tourist attraction. For more than 2 centuries, the Hudson River settlement has been the dominant American metropolis. Along the way, it became the planet's busiest harbor, its manufacturing hub, its the media center, business hub, and the financial capital. It remains the greatest city in the world. It is fitting that the United Nations had its permanent headquarters here. Of course, its history has had a darker side too. In the 18th century, New York was a slave center, second only to Charleston. Wall Street had financed the slave economy. In the United States, after New York State abolished human bondage in 1827, the draft riot of 1863 remains the worst civil disturbance in American history. Slum housing in the mid-1800s was as bad as anything anywhere. The World Depression of the 1930s began on Wall Street, and unbeknown to most of the residents, New York played a central role in the American Revolution. It was the site of the largest battle, a crushing defeat for the Continental Army, the focus of both British and American strategy, the site of the tragic prison ships, and the headquarters of the British Army and Navy. And let's not forget, the 400th anniversary celebrate the colonized New York. Native Americans made their home in what is now the city long before that. Most important, as the historian Thomas has demonstrated, New York has throughout its history offered more opportunity than other American cities. In 1625, Dutch traders, those slave owners and traders, set a standard of toleration, diversity, and acceptance of human difference. No doubt, in the pursuit of obedience, the problem in New York history is not how to find something important to highlight, but how to choose among so many thousands of competing possibilities. History not only reminds us how we got to where we are now, it also provides clues as to where we are going and how to get there. No doubt, New York faced a host of challenges. But history also reminds us that New Yorkers, through grit and hard work, have but overcome difficult obstacles throughout the centuries. The Civil War, devastating fires, economic depressions, market crashes, epidemic disease, and the September 11th World Trade Center attack failed to bring Gotham to its knees. No other place on the planet had shown so clearly that different cultures, races, classes, religions, political codes, and languages can exist in proximity without setting up mayhem. The record of this most heterogeneous of cities shows that diversity, tolerance, and acceptance of human differences, even amid the density in which its residents reside, have usually led to peace. What has always counted most is effort, talent, creativity, and the opportunity. New York was the first capital of the United States. The place where George Washington was inaugurated as the first president, where Congress passed the Bill of Rights in Federal Hall on Wall Street, where the world's dominant stock exchange was founded, where regularly scheduled shipping service was invented, where above ground public transit in America began, where the Civil War was financed, where tenement laws began to impose restrictions on slumlord, where black culture and leadership began to thrive, and where the Stonewall riot in Greenwich Village in 1969 was a turning point in the modern LGBTQ rights movement, and it builds on that history every day. Recognizing New York City's 400th birthday called you for a celebration worthy of a greater metropolis that remain a beacon of opportunity. The entire city ought to come together to make the world aware of New York's uniqueness. Mayor Adams and Governor Kessling needed to make sure that happened.